The lights in the Atlanta studio were bright enough to make shadows feel like strangers, and the air buzzed with the kind of nervous electricity that only happens when two families are about to square off for bragging rights and a little cash. It was Friday, March 8, 2024, and the Anderson family from Portland, Oregon, stood on one side of the gleaming podiums, facing the Martinez family from Houston, Texas. The audience settled into their seats with the rustle of popcorn bags and the low hum of anticipation, while Steve Harvey, tie crisp and smile wide, worked the room like a preacher at a revival. He bounced between the families, cracking jokes, pulling stories out of them the way a magician pulls scarves from a sleeve. The Andersons laughed easily. Robert with his booming actor's voice, Susan with her warm maternal chuckle, Michael and Lisa trading sibling jabs that felt practiced but real. And then there was Jennifer, 28, standing in the middle like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Her smile tight, her hands clasped so hard her knuckles went white. Steve leaned in during introductions, eyes twinkling. "Jennifer, you're the middle child, right? Tell me what it's like growing up with these wild folks." The question was light, tossed out like confetti, but it landed on Jennifer like a stone. She opened her mouth. The words she'd rehearsed 100 times in her tiny apartment lined up neatly in her head, but they tangled on her tongue. Her breath hitched. The studio lights suddenly felt too hot, the laughter too loud. She looked at Robert, Susan, Michael, Lisa, 4 people she'd met online 6 months ago, 4 people she'd paid to stand here and pretend, and something inside her cracked wide open. "Mr. Harvey," she whispered, so soft the microphone barely caught it. "I need to tell you something." Steve's grin faltered. He stepped closer, the playful glint in his eyes softening into concern. "What is it, baby girl?" The audience leaned forward as one, the way people do when they sense a storm coming. Jennifer's chest rose and fell too fast. She glanced at the 4 strangers who had become her temporary everything, then at the sea of real families watching her, then back at Steve. "They're not my family," she said, the words tumbling out like a confession in a quiet church. "I've never met them before this week. I hired them. I paid them. I made it all up because I don't have anyone. I just wanted to know what it felt like to belong." The silence that followed was so complete you could hear the hum of the cameras. Steve's face went still, processing. Robert shifted his weight. Susan's hand flew to her mouth. Michael and Lisa exchanged wide-eyed glances. The audience, primed for buzzers and bad answers, sat frozen, hearts caught in their throats. Jennifer's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "I grew up in foster care," she continued, voice trembling but steadying with every word. "From 3 to 18, I bounced between houses where I was just a paycheck or a problem. I aged out with a duffel bag and abuse ticket. I've watched shows like this my whole life, seen families hug and fight and laugh, and I thought, if I could just stand here for one day, pretend for one day, maybe I'd know what it feels like to matter to someone." She turned to the 4 people beside her, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Robert answered my Craigslist ad because he needed rent money, but he spent hours teaching me how to lean on a dad's shoulder without flinching. Susan gave me this necklace." She touched the delicate chain at her throat and told me it was her mother's, even though we both know it came from a mall kiosk. Michael and Lisa made fake photo albums, photoshopped me into their childhood vacations, taught me inside jokes about a dog we never had.
"They didn't just help me lie to you.
They helped me feel for the first time like someone cared if I was happy." Steve's eyes were glassy now. He looked at Robert, who nodded slowly, then at Susan, whose lips trembled, then at Michael and Lisa, who stood shoulder to shoulder like they'd been raised that way. "Y'all knew?" Steve asked, voice low. Robert cleared his throat. "She posted online. Said she just wanted one day. We thought it'd be a gig, but then we met her." Susan stepped forward, voice thick. "She's got this light, Steve. You see it the second she smiles. We couldn't just act. We started meaning it." Jennifer wiped her face with the sleeve of her sweater. "I saved for 8 months, skipped meals, took extra shifts just to pay them. I made up birthdays, Thanksgivings, a grandma who baked apple pie every Sunday. I practiced being the daughter, the sister, the kid who came home toop in arms. But standing here with you asking me what it was like to grow up loved, I couldn't say the lie anymore, because pretending to have people whole of you is lonelier than admitting you don't." The studio lights seemed to dim, or maybe it was just the tears blurring everything. Steve took a long breath, the kind a man takes when he's deciding whether to follow the script or follow his heart. Then he turned to the audience, arms wide. "I've hosted this show for years, seen blood families fight like cats, seen strangers hug like brothers. But I ain't never seen 5 people choose each other like this. He looked at Jennifer, then at the 4 who'd signed on for a paycheck and stayed for her soul. Jennifer, you didn't just rent a family. You built one. And Robert, Susan, Michael, Lisa, you didn't just act. You showed up. The audience erupted, a wave of applause that rolled like thunder. Jennifer's knees buckled and Susan caught her, pulling her into a hug that wasn't scripted. Robert's big hand settled on her back, steady as an oak. Michael and Lisa flanked them, arms linked, a fortress of cozen kin. Steve raised his voice over the noise. We're playing this game, all 5 of y'all. No prize money today, just the prize of proving family ain't about blood. It's about who shows up when you need them most. The buzzers beeped, the board flipped, but the game felt different, sacred almost. When Jennifer nailed "Name something you'd find in a haunted house," Robert whooped like she'd just graduated summa cum laude. When Michael blanked on "Something you'd see at a circus," Susan squeezed his shoulder and whispered, "Next one, baby." Lisa fumbled a question about wedding traditions, and Jennifer leaned in, murmuring, "You got this, sis," like they'd been trading secrets since braces. The audience laughed and cried in equal measure, watching 5 strangers become something unbreakable in real time. Fast money came down to Jennifer. She stepped to the podium alone, heart hammering so loud she was sure the mic picked it up. Behind her, Robert's voice boomed. "We got you, kiddo," Susan added, soft but fierce. "You were born for this, honey." Michael and Lisa started a chant, "Jennifer. Jennifer." And for the first time in 28 years, Jennifer felt the weight of people who wanted her to win, not for the points but for her. She buzzed through the questions, voice steady, scoring 187, enough to clinch the game. The confetti fell, but the real celebration was the way Robert lifted her off the ground, the way Susan's tears soaked her shoulder, the way Michael and Lisa piled on until they were a tangled, laughing heap. After the camera stopped in the quiet hush of the green room, Robert cleared his throat. "Jennifer, we started this for a check, but somewhere between fake Christmas stories and that necklace, you stopped being a job." Susan nodded, eyes red. "Come to Portland. Stay a while. Let's make the fake stuff real." Michael grinned. "We've got a spare room. And Lisa makes killer lasagna." Jennifer laughed through fresh tears. "You sure you want a foster kid crashing your actual family?" Lisa rolled her eyes. "Girl, you're already in the group chat." 6 months later, Jennifer's U-Haul pulled up to a modest house on a quiet Portland street, the kind with a porch swing and a dog that barked at squirrels. Robert and Susan waited on the steps, arms open. Michael and Lisa waved from the driveway, holding a homemade "Welcome Home" banner that looked like it had been attacked by glitter. Jennifer stepped out of the car, duffel bag over her shoulder, and for the first time the word home didn't feel like a lie. She ate dinner at their table twice a week, burned the garlic bread exactly once, learned Susan's secret to perfect gravy. Holidays came with stockings that had her name stitched on them, not in irony but in earnest. Michael taught her to change a tire. Lisa dragged her to karaoke and discovered Jennifer could belt Aretha like nobody's business. A year after the show, Robert and Susan sat her down with paperwork thicker than a phone book. "Adult adoption," Robert said, voice gruff. "You're 29, but you'll always be our kid." Jennifer stared at the forms, then at the 2 people who'd started as paid actors and ended up as the parents she'd dreamed of in a dozen foster bedrooms. She signed Jennifer Thompson Anderson with a hand that didn't shake. The chosen family foundation was born in a church basement, Jennifer at the helm, matching foster care alumni with mentors who wanted to be more than a monthly check-in. She spoke at high schools, her voice steady now, telling kids in 2 big hoodies that family wasn't a lottery ticket. You could build it with your own 2 hands and a whole lot of courage. The hashtag #ChosenFamily trended for weeks. Strangers posting photos of the people who'd become their anchors. The neighbor who taught them to cook. The teacher who stayed late. The friend who showed up with ice cream after every breakup. Steve Harvey started weaving her story into his speeches, voice booming across auditoriums. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. He sent Jennifer a Christmas card every year, signed in his looping scrawl, "To my favorite daughter I never birthed, keep choosing love." Every March 8th, the Andersons flew back to Atlanta, not for the studio but for the shelters, handing out care packages and stories to kids who still believed they were invisible. Jennifer would kneel T-level, touch a trembling shoulder and say, I was you. And look, I found my people. You will too. At night, in the house with the porch swing, Jennifer sometimes touched the necklace Susan had given her, the one that wasn't really an heirloom but felt like one now. She'd look out at the streetlights and think of the girl who'd once stood in a studio, terrified to tell the truth, and how that truth had built her a life richer than any game show prize. Robert would shuffle out in his slippers, hand her a mug of chamomile. You okay, kiddo? She'd smile, the kind that reached her eyes now. Never better, Dad. Family, she learned, wasn't a word you were born into. It was a promise you kept day after day, choosing to show up, to care, to love even when it was messy and hard and real. Jennifer Thompson Anderson had lied her way onto a stage, but she'd told the truth and found her way home. And in the quiet Portland nights with the dog snoring on the rug and Susan's laughter drifting from the kitchen, she knew the survey had only one answer that mattered. Family is whoever holds your hand when the lights come up and refuses to let go when they go down.